Here's what I love about opening weekend in college football. You get games that sound like appetizers on paper, but once you peel them back a little bit, you got main course energy. Thursday and Friday night is a perfect example of this. You got Boise State and South Florida down in Tampa, Nebraska and Cincinnati taking over Arrowhead, Auburn and Baylor in a Big 12 SEC clash, and then Georgia Tech and Colorado really in a game that's dripping with narrative. Every one of these games has a story beneath the surface. Quarterback battles, program identity questions, dangerous upset spots. And that's what we're doing here, not just predicting winners, but asking what these matchups are going to tell us about the season ahead. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe because I'm going to be with you all season long, cutting through the noise and telling you why these games matter. So let's talk about the appetizer. Boise State at South Florida, Thursday night down in Tampa. At least you can kind of call it Thursday night. Well, it's a 4:30 Central game, so some of you on the West Coast are going to have 2:30 football while you're still at work. One of the sneakiest good openers of week one. You look at it on paper and it reads Mountain West versus the American, and Boise is a touchdown favorite, no big deal. But you peel it back a little bit and there's layers here. This is a dangerous spot for Boise and a fascinating test for both programs. I got three takeaways for this one. Number one, Boise has to prove the post-Genty offense can still work. They obviously lost Ashton Genty, who was their identity last season. Rode him all the way to a Mountain West title and a playoff berth, and now he's gone. Now it's a committee backfield with some guys that I actually like. Sire Gaines, Malik Sherrod, and Maddox Matson is at quarterback. And on the road in the Florida humidity early in the season, we're going to find out right away if this offense can still hum without its bell cow. Second thing, Byron Brown is a true wild card for USF. For South Florida, it is all about him. One of the most explosive dual threat quarterbacks in the group of five when he's healthy. He can extend plays, he can stress you vertically, and he can make a defense like Boise's really uncomfortable. And I think he's going to really have his way in this game. If he gets hot, this game can flip on its head. And third, which defense can get a stop? The total's up to around 63, and that tells you what the odd makers think. USF's defense was among the worst in the country a year ago, and unless they patch that up, Boise should be able to move the ball quite easily, but you flip it, Boise's defense is better, but they're dealing with tempo and a mobile quarterback. 2 or 3 big stops could end up deciding this thing, and if Boise gets them, they probably leave Tampa with a win. If they don't, you're talking about an upset alert in Tampa. So the way I see it, Boise should win, but this isn't the opponent that you should sleepwalk against. Show us life after Genty, contain Byron Brown, and remind us that you're still the bullies in the G5. I think Boise escapes, but I lean USF plus 6.5 right now. That is Thursday night afternoon drama. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this kind of breakdown, hit that like button. It helps more people find the show, and I'll keep cranking out these previews every single week. Now, from the Florida humidity to the Midwest under the lights on Thursday night, we got to shift our focus to Kansas City, where another sneaky big Thursday night game is waiting. Nebraska versus Cincinnati, but it's at Arrowhead at GFA Stadium. Nebraska faces Cincinnati in the Kansas City Classic. They've sold over 66,000 tickets for this one, but it's mainly going to be Husker fans, even though Cincinnati is technically the home team. This is going to be a pretty big stage, and this is a tall task right here. Matt Rule called it out himself. You don't overlook Cincinnati's defensive tackle, Dante Corleone. He's not just strong, he is going to be a tone setter, and I think a guy that can really break this game wide open for Cincinnati. If Nebraska's offensive line isn't locked in, Corleone is going to take this game over from snap one. Second thing, fall camp reports are glowing about Nebraska's offense. I have them in an online dynasty in CFB 26 that I have. And this is an offense that I think can really hum this year. Dylan Raiola looks poised, the O-line looks the part, and I love some of the receivers that they got, a Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter. But defensively, they're going to be plugging new pieces into the trenches, and maybe that could mean early shootouts. Can they trade blows fast enough to stay ahead? And third thing, this is year 3 for Rule, and Nebraska wants respect on the field, not just hype before the season. And some folks are really calling for this to be maybe a sneaky playoff team. A win here gives them momentum, a loss in the offseason optimism fizzles quickly, and Rule, we don't know. Here's how I see it. Corleone can wreck this game. Nebraska has to prove that they can withstand that pressure up front, and the defense needs to hold serve. I think Nebraska can and should win, but Cincy plus the points tempts me a little bit. My lean in this one is actually going to be the under. I think both offenses start slower than people expect, and we get a little bit of a slower game to start off. Now we got to head south. Friday night, Waco, Texas, where the Big 12 and SEC collide in one of Friday night's spotlight games. Auburn rolls into Baylor as a narrow favorite, around 2.5, with a total hovering around 58. This is the Fox primetime Friday slot. This isn't going to be a tune-up. This is truly a statement opportunity for both of these programs. Baylor has the quarterback edge. I love Sawyer Robertson. He enters year 2 as the undisputed starter. Over 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns. Rare continuity for the Bears in the portal era. But Auburn, a little murky at quarterback with Jackson Arnold. People don't quite know what to expect. That it's a weird dichotomy. You have the ceiling super high. Like, I think playoff potential if things hit. But the floor is also super low. Like, they could win 5 games really low. So I don't know what Auburn team to believe in yet. I think the matchup in this game is Baylor's offense versus Auburn's defense. Baylor returns its top back, a veteran O-line, plenty of weapons. And they finished last year on a roll. And Auburn's defense still looking for answers up front. If Baylor gets in a rhythm, it's going to really brew some trouble, mainly because they have home field and momentum. They got 8 defensive starters back, strong linebacker play, confidence, and Auburn's still piecing some things together. I think that edge plus Waco's energy makes this feel like it's Baylor's to lose, and I think the wrong team is favored. Baylor has the safer quarterback, the smoother offense, home momentum. Auburn needs a little bit of chaos and a high-scoring affair to win, and if Robertson gets comfy, Baylor takes it. I'll grab Baylor money line at plus money for this one. And finally, we go west. What a game. Boulder, Colorado, where the narrative might be the biggest opponent on the field. We got Georgia Tech traveling to Boulder at Folsom Field under the lights. Another year of the Coach Prime era begins, but this one, without Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, across the way, Georgia Tech brings in a veteran quarterback, some great run game, and some momentum. Tech is favored by about 3.5 to 4 from what I saw, and a few things I'm taking away from it. This dual threat quarterback battle is going to be really interesting. Colorado looks ready to hand the job to Liberty transfer Caden Salter, who is a legit dual threat. I gotta see how he plays early to maybe see if Julian Lewis gets some run. But Georgia Tech counters with Haynes King, who's steady, he's tested, and I think the early quarterback advantage has to go to Georgia Tech in this one because of the continuity. And we know that if Haynes King stays healthy throughout the year, this is a dangerous squad. Colorado's defense needs a new identity. Prime's defense is fast, they're physical, but they lost their 2 cornerstones. Georgia Tech's not elite, but they're stable and they're not going to beat themselves. And I think that balance matters in a lot of ways. Colorado's trying to rebuild identity, while Georgia Tech, I think, is trying to build on real momentum that they have in the program. I think the edge right now has to go to Tech until Colorado proves otherwise this season. So here's the setup. Georgia Tech has stability, experience, scheme continuity, while Colorado has the energy, the hype, a new quarterback with juice. But until they prove it, I'm gonna lock in Georgia Tech minus the points, around 3.5 or 4. Zooming out, none of these Thursday or Friday games are throwaway games at all. Can't just lock in on Saturday getting ready for these games. These Thursday and Friday games matter just as much this year. Boise State has to prove that they're still the Mountain West standard without Ashton Jeanty. And honestly, that game could prove to be the one that determines who makes the college football playoff from the group of 5. Nebraska's looking for identity. Auburn and Baylor, pure statement opportunity for both of them. Who's legit? And then Colorado stepping into the next chapter without its stars, facing a Georgia Tech team that already knows who it is, who I think is one of the biggest sleepers in the country this year. That's why week 1 isn't just the start of the season, it is the start of the conversation, and we'll keep having it here every single day. So make sure you're subscribed, drop your predictions below, and check back for some Saturday previews that I'm gonna be putting out a little bit later this week. College football's back, and the answers are already coming fast.